type of distance away, and you're really diving, belting into the engagement. This year, they're basically wanting your heads interlock. The call is ear to ear, so from the referee's point of view, but basically what they want to see at the end of the day is not head on head, they want to see the heads already into that space. So when you get to, from this point here, the difficult thing, because your head's almost touching the shoulder, is over a short distance you've got to get your head through into that space underneath. So when we're working from here, what a lot of guys end up doing is they're here and they're worried about getting their head in, so they duck their head in and they end up in that shape with the bent back and the chin down on the chest, which they can't apply any pressure. So over the very short distance, there's two things we want to try to do, and it's about getting a movement pattern right. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. They can do it against a step, so if you've got one of those temporary stands or a concrete step on the side, they can practice the movement pattern on there. They can practice it by themselves without anyone just to start, and then they can practice it against each other. And what we're looking for with this movement pattern is generally on the setup they're in that sort of shape here, with the hips just behind the knees, and by the time we engage, we want the hips to be in line with the knees or just in front. What we want to see is that there's a slight change of height, okay, without having to duck the head. So we're looking for, from this position, basically to push down into the feet and push the chest forward, and that's the simple movement that we're looking at. So we're looking at going from here, and basically the weight down into the feet, so we've got a good base, and the chest is jamming into there. So when we go through it, shape, when we're here, we've got the crouch and the bind here, and we're in this position. I'll just move slowly on the set. On the set, what I'm looking to do is push down into my feet and squeeze my chest forward to there. So in that shape, I haven't had to drop anything, and I can hold that body shape through that movement. So we're both doing the same thing. We're in this position here, and as we come forward, we're just pushing down to our feet, and our chest is coming out. We want to achieve that sort of position. A couple of those, ready? Crouch, bring your chest forward. Bind, set. Good, simple as that. Go up again. Try it again. Crouch, bind, set. Good. Okay, now we've both got to bind up. Okay. The guy. Okay, so yeah, just go over the top of them. So, yep, like this. So if we're facing here, your right arm up there like that. Okay, so I'll go right arm, he'll go left arm, sorry. And so the guy on this side with the right arm up will be tight head. Doesn't matter what position you are now. All I want you to practice in slow motion is just call it to yourselves, just go crouch, bind, and on the set just practice. Slow motion, just doing that sync. Do about 3 of them and slowly build the speed in your own time. I'll just come around and have a look. Okay, ready? Get your bind up. Just practice it really slow. Sink forward together. I'll adjust stuff in a minute with the binds and things as we go forward and be more specific. Bind up. One more go each. Okay, good. Come up. Squeeze now, you can call sink now. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's really what they do in those two parts. So on the first call, what you want the players to do is basically get their chest forward and their shoulder blades squeezed on there, so that everything from there, weight can transfer through their body. So they haven't got a sloppy upper body and then they start trying to drive with their legs and everything just compacts onto their upper body and it doesn't transfer through them onto the opposition. So the first thing they're doing is on that squeeze or that sink call is they're basically locking their shoulder blades, squeezing them through, squeezing their chest through, and you'll see when they do that their knees will actually sink slightly towards the ground, which is fine, okay? And then the second part is just basically the lock where they drive their hips and knees through. And with your coordination as that works, basically what your hooker will do is squeeze through, squeeze himself into his hooking position, and on the lock, he'll get that drive and drop into his strike on that second part. And the reason again we want to do that for him is that he's basically using that momentum as the ball's being fed into the scrum to release the weight off himself, so he's not trying to lift the scrum to strike for the ball. I'll show you that as we build the scrum. How that
So I'm going to do it in the movement. It'll be squeeze, lock. Okay?
Simple as that. And what I'm trying to do is aim my pressure at the opposition's feet on that squeeze. So I'm trying to aim, if I'm a lock, I'm looking through at the opposition front row's feet, and I'm aiming my weight there. And I'll show you why. If you just get in a pushing position, I'll stay up. Okay, so Aaron, just get your feet into a pushing position. Okay, just start pushing back against me. Good, bit more pressure. Start pushing me back. Good. Okay, so there's nice pressure straight through there. The two things we don't want to do is, first one is, okay, just get in that position again. Just come up slightly. Okay. But first thing we don't want to do is that chin on the chest. So now try and push me back. So, right. So as soon as he drops that chin at all, nothing goes through him. Everything he tries to drive with his legs can't transfer through to the opposition. So we've got to make sure, if you look from side on, even if I'm in a compromised position like that, if I squeeze my chest through, I can actually get myself back into a good position from there. So even if I've taken the hit, caught the hit a little bit, I'm in a compromised position, by basically squeezing my chest and my shoulder blades down and through, it opens me back up, ready to drive. Okay, the second thing, the hardest thing that you'll get with guys from a coordination point of view is when you hit and wait for that ball to come in, and luckily at community level you'll have less time, I think, because you control the feed. So I'm looking for the squeeze of the chest at his feet. So I'm looking at his feet, I go squeeze now, and then you'll go, Aaron, you call it? Squeeze. Good. So the good thing now, when you squeeze your chest, I feel it squeeze forward into a good position. So let's just practice that movement pattern. Have a go at it, guys. Call it between yourselves. If you're looking sideways, we don't want to see those hips there behind the knees, so just bring your chest forward a fraction. That's it, better. Okay, good. Come up, obviously you get some sideways pressure, you get pressure coming straight through, you get rotational pressure that way. One of the exercises that's important for guys to do in the warm-up is just learning how to react to those situations correctly. A lot of scrums, guys look like they're in great position, and there's a slight little bit of movement, and all of a sudden everything goes pear-shaped, and it goes pear-shaped really quickly. You see those wheels that just fly around the corner all of a sudden when it's looked quite stable. And generally it's because of the way that guys react to when pressure changes on them. So let's just go down. Okay, so get your binds up against each other. That's it. Okay, so the couple of ways pressure is going to come. It's going to come sideways from a, well, so you saw there just with a little shove from side on. But the first thing that happened with Aaron, he kept his feet nice and wide, which is good, but he let his hip lift up and had to move. So you see with a little bit of sideways pressure there, it can come. The other way pressure is going to come is that way. And you want them to be able to react to it. Good, come out. So I want you to try two things this time. So when we're in the scrum this time, okay, if you feel pressure like he's whining you, and I'll do it, there, what I want you to practice doing is basically drawing your elbows up. So you're trying to basically imagine you're doing a lat pull down, and you're trying to draw your shoulder blades on there, okay? If you feel any sideways pressure on you, what I want you to do is open your chest and open your knees. So I'll show you what I mean from side on just so you can see it. Come on, lean against me. So if you see pressure, if you feel me put pressure on sideways, what I want you to concentrate on, if pressure comes on, you open your knees and open your chest. So if pressure comes on sideways, I open my knees and open my chest in that position to give me a wider base. Okay, so get your binds up. Ready? Good. Squeeze into it. Good. Use your elbows. Much better. Good. Squeeze your chest forward. Well done. Good, come up. Okay. Get down in a pushing position. You can put your hands on the ground. That's it. Okay. Start. Do your squeeze. Now, drive it through. Good. So what I want you can put your hands on the ground for today because you're just getting used to it. Squeeze your hips through. That's it. Okay. Keep the weight on. Now you've got to try and drive. You've got to try and step forward. Good. Keep going. Don't let your hips come up. Squeeze your hips through as you step. That's better. Good, much more control. Okay, now I'm going to... What do you do now? The weight's coming on sideways. Well done. Good. Keep it on. Keep it constant. And break. Good. Making sure that they don't drop those knees and lift the shoulders. So you get it. Okay. Do your squeeze now. Okay, start driving it forward. And I'm going to try and lift your shoulders up. Good. Keep it going. Well done. Keep it going. Keep working through. Breathe. And break. Good. Pushing position. So I'm going to start going straight. So I'll be straight. I'll go squeeze now. Put a bit more weight on it. Good. When I feel myself start to lift it all on the shoulders, I'll go again. Okay, now I'm going to go left. Squeeze now. Stay in front of me. Stay in front of the weight. Good. Now I'm going to straighten up again. Squeeze now. Stop. And you can just adjust those things. Look forward, someone just looking at her own feet. Okay, you're going to angle left now. Squeeze now. Wider first. Stay in front of him. Okay, straight again. Squeeze now. Edge it through. Edge it now. Keep edging now. Keep edging. Just keep edging the feet without the weight coming off. If you feel your shoulders start to lift, do another sink through of the chest. And break. Good. Well done. So when you get to the mark, how many guys coaching under 19 level and below? Cool. Okay, I'll just show you some slight variations as we go through. So generally in senior rugby you'll come up, they'll start during the bind of about a heel toe there, with feet about shoulder width apart, not too wide apart. Okay, and we don't need to get low in the shoulders here because we've got this balance of setup, we want to just get our hips set on the right height. We do that by basically, this front leg should feel like it's got a bit of a hammy stretch in it. The bum's, hips tilted slightly up, the chest out in a nice comfortable height for everyone to come into. What we don't want to do, you see a lot of teams set up, they set up in this position here, and they do this, then they stand back up after it. And they've built their whole structure off balance with everyone in the crap feet position. So you want to make it as easy as possible to get in and then pull the whole thing together. So just that hip square down the field, good. Hip tilt there, it should feel a little bit of a hammy stretch. And you want the point of your shoulder to be in front of the point of your toe. Good. Okay, just relax again. So loose head's going to come up next. So when the loose head comes up, we don't want the arms of the loose head and the tight head to cross over when they're there because it compromises their binds and everything. So we want them one up, one down if possible. So my preference for loose head is he comes chest high there, not too tight at this point here. He has his toe about halfway down the foot. Now, if he's a taller bloke, he might start with it slightly further back. There, he gets his hips in alignment and he brings his front foot to just in front of the toe of the hooker there. Now the hooker just lets him come to him, like that. Now you'll see variations in width. My preference is that the point of my shoulder is in his armpit, and the hooker will just find that point of the shoulder in his armpit like that. So we're almost out. Okay, you'll see a lot of guys with Super Rugby tuck right in here and stuff. There's obvious reasons for doing that, but in terms of representation, what I want to do is have that point of my shoulder tucked into there. The reason I want to have the point of my shoulder tucked right into his armpit is I want to control this left shoulder for him. And I want to keep pressure on that left shoulder to keep the tight head from going under his ribs when he tries to strike for the ball, and squeezing in there. So if I can control this left shoulder and keep it down for him, that'll keep the tight head prop up on the knee. So if I come in here and I do this, and I pull right out here, like that, the tight head prop's going to go straight into that hole there. So we want to make sure that hip alignment's right, my toes near the heel, and we're in that position there. from this point here, we've got our hips set up. What we do on the crouch is we only move our chests. Okay, so we don't duck down, we do it nice and slowly. So when the referee calls crouch, I prefer my hooker to have a call and just call sink when he's ready and control it. So the referee will go crouch, you just call sink. We'll just bring our chest forward like that. Now what a lot of guys do, come up and relax. What a lot of guys do when they go into the crouch, they start like this, and the referee says crouch, and they go crouch, and they sink back like that. Now my hips are a mile behind my knees, and when I engage, I'm going to be in a position where if my hips are behind my knees, no weight can transfer forward, and I've actually got to move my feet backwards to get in a position I stuck the rest of the scrum up. So if we can just get that position where we're in here, we're set like that, and on the crouch, I'm just bringing my chest down there. That gives you the most. Okay, hooker come up first. Good. Loose head come up, chest high bind. Set that foot, set the hip line. Tight head come up. Step through so there's no crossover of the arms. That's good. Now again, you're probably a little bit wide there, so just what I mean is, yeah, just step that hip toe in right next to the in, just on the outside of the heel, and just have your hip so the side of your body's against it. Good. Okay, so on the crouch, we're just bringing the chest forward. Crouch. Good. Right? Now, next thing. Hamish and Aaron just stay together. So when they come down side on, if you're coaching, what you want to try and see is a flat line from their hips along their back and along the top of their head. And the reason you want to see that is so that then everything's locked in the right position, and they've just got to do that sink forward to get shape. What you don't want to see from side on is this. Nice and over the head there. Because obviously for me to now get my head underneath the opposition, I have to drop my head, and that's going to round me out and lose all that tension I've got in the upper body. So when they're looking at you, there's lots of different ways of talking about it, but I just want them to look, so have their head flat and look out the top of their eyes at the target, okay, and then try to look through at the target. Some coaches will talk about, imagine they've got a pair of sunnies on and they're trying to look over the rim of the sunnies. So all you're trying to see, just come down into, you're not going to hit each other, but just come forward and just come down to a flat position. So from there, see how there's that slight tilt there? My preference would be that the head's flat. Yeah, so just push the chin down, the chest down. Don't have to get any lower on the shoulders. Yep. Just chest down. Good. Head flat. There. Good. That sort of angle maximum. If they come to there, you know he's going to have to drop his head to get into the scrum. So we're trying to get a flat line, even there if we can. Come out. Now, obviously, you're not looking at the ground like that. You're basically in there, and you're like that. Now you're imagining you've got a bar on your shoulders like you're going to do a squat, or you're at the bottom of the lat, pull down behind us, that movement there where your head's flat and your shoulder blades are through like that. Okay, you can still look forward. So can we just go through that? Remember, that's going to make sure when you come forward, just be a fraction, but you want to make sure that your shoulder's in front of that toe. So you don't want to have the weight over that foot. Okay. Good, just in a nice comfortable position. Okay, come up and get your binds, loose head, tight head. Okay, now nice flat backs. Now we're not going to go on with it, we're just going to go through an engagement and we'll have a look and see what we've got to adjust. Crouch, come forward in the chest. Good. Bind. Set. And break. Break. Good. Come up. So, not bad at all for a first go. And a couple of things we want to make sure of is when we go forward into that engagement, we want to make sure we achieve that position. We're not having to adjust afterwards. So what's really important is where we get our bind. So if I'm the tight head to start off with, we'll look at the tight head bind. If I'm the tight head binding on Aaron, I don't want to be up in the middle of his back here, because if I'm up there, my shoulder's high, and he's going to pack straight in underneath my ribs, and I'm going to end up sailing, okay? And I don't want to be down on his arm. I mean, I do want to be down on his arm, but I'm not allowed to be. But so what I want to achieve is that getting a position where I don't compromise myself, and I'm in a strong position. So the target I've been giving guys is just behind the armpit to get a bind on there. Okay. Now, if you imagine you're reaching, so you're in there, you've got everything around you, what's going to naturally happen when you reach forward with that out arm? Your body's going to want to twist out of the shape you want. So what I ask the guys to do is be in that shape and only move their arm to a point where they can without rotating. So both of them want to get that too. So if I'm loose head, I'm here, I'm going forward to that position. And as soon as I get my bind there, I want to basically drop my chest. And the reason I want to drop my chest into that position we talked about before. So if you look purely at the bind on the opposition now, from side on, but I'm going from here, we're going crouch to there, bind. So my bind's there like that, and then I'll do a little adjustment of the foot and squeeze my chest in. And then on the set, I can come straight in to that position. We go crouch, bind, set. Good. Okay, now as the pressure starts to build, just start to push against me. I just want to open everything up. I just open the chest up rather than, a lot of guys will pull like that, and they pull everyone underneath it, or they'll lift there. What you want them to do is just build the pressure. You just open, the hips are still up. If he gets rotation at all, the whole scrum falls apart. So he's here like this, he's got a target, and he'll reach through there. And when he gets that reach on, my preference is they just give a nudge with the palm of the hand so you get onto their body because it's hard to get a grip. So they get on like that, and then just turn that little finger up, and the same on the other side. And when the set's called, from there, basically I'm just drawing both binds on again. So I'm going on the set, I'm going to there, and I'm pulling both that bind on and drawing my hooker to me at the same time. Drawing the binds on evenly so that it gives me my balance. So I've actually got to use my hooker to balance on the outside. Now, the things you'll generally see if you're watching your guys scrumming, so we're in loose. There. Okay, I'm in this position here, and what I don't want to do is basically start drawing out like this and opening a hole. What I want to do is basically squeeze my hooker to me and put pressure on the inside shoulder. Okay, but he does the same thing. When he feels everything's down and balanced after the crouch, he just turns his little fingers up slightly and squeezes his shoulder out and just squeezes his head right at the other hooker. And the reason for that is, we're just going to lean in against each other. Actually, I'll go this side. So what a lot of hookers do is they'll pull their binds like this, so they'll go crouch, bind, and they'll go set, going, and they'll be in that position there. And they've got to then try and lift him off to get their foot off the ground. So what you want your hooker to do is be balanced enough so that toe's locked behind my shoulder so I don't have to roll forward over my toe to get in. Hands up there. On the bind, I squeeze my chest forward and just squeeze my head there at his chin so I can slot through without, this shoulder can't lift at all. So if you just watch the difference, we go crouch, bind, set. And I'm just into that position there. Then we can do squeeze, and I can open that foot there, and I can strike without lifting. Put the feet back in the position. So if I'm the hooker, I've got that head turned slightly across against him. I just open that foot slightly. I've got my hips up so that the lock can lock me in. And I go squeeze and squeeze the chest. And on the now, I strike there, or I strike and draw. And as soon as I got my strike back, I'm back down and opening the chest up again. But what I don't want to do is do this. Again, is go here and start doing this. And lifting, or I don't want to do this, put pressure on, is try and lift forward to strike. Because as soon as I try and lift my foot off the ground, everything raises up. So we'll just have a look at a strike process here. Your team have if you don't get a good engagement on the first one, I'll talk you through how to get in good position again. Okay, here's the mark. Look, come up. Now, just here, So when I'm standing behind, unfortunately you guys can't see it, when I first set up there was a gap between the point of Aaron's shoulder and his hooker's armpit of about that much. So that means the hooker's going to take the whole brunt of the engagement. So you've got to make sure that the point of that shoulder is squeezing his point of his shoulder down. Okay, the point of his shoulder should be lower than your ear. Good, okay, ready? Crouch. Bind. Set. Steady. Okay, now, ready? Squeeze. Now. Strike, foot back, good. Come up, well done. So what's crucial is we see that pressure release on him before with that really coordinated movement of the squeeze lock. Okay, crouch. Bind. Set. Okay, get your chest through, ready? Squeeze. Lock. Okay, break, come on. Here we go. Okay, remember we've got to sit with our hips up so we've got people behind, got something to push on. That's much better, Aaron, with that shoulder position, good. Okay, ready? Chest forward, crouch. Nice, and let's just come up into that start position. You see how quick that, I said crouch and they dived into it? And everyone lost their shape. So I want it nice and controlled this time. So you call the sink and you control the speed of it because you don't want to get pushed in early by your back five. Ready? Try it again. Crouch, bind, set. Good. Okay, lean that shoulder on him. Okay. Squeeze, lock. Much better. Good. Come so you'll see at the moment all the locks starting. If you're watching closely the games, you'll see all different sets of locks starting in different positions. So some of the New Zealand sides, some of the South African sides, some of the Australian sides, all the middle four starting on their knees, so that their feet are in the exact position they want, all square, and then once that bind comes up, or just around the bind, once everyone's balanced, they're just coming up as a group. And the reason they're trying to do that is that if you can take out any feet movement in the scrum, then when you engage and you've got all 16 feet on the ground, you've got a nice solid base. So that's why a lot of teams have gone down that route. Some of the teams had guys that were struggling. So the Brumbies had Sammy Carter that was struggling to get up off his knees in that position without pushing the front row in. So they've just gone to basically starting up off their knees and adjusting they end up in the same position. So it's nothing's right or wrong. I would suggest at club level, unless you're getting lots and lots of time and you've got a good consistent group, I would suggest starting up off your knees and using your number 8 to help you balance and adjust. The other way is technically stronger on the engagement, but it takes a lot of time and you don't want to, for the sake of having strong scrums, you don't want to give away 4 or 5 free kicks a game for going. The scrum's going to take the majority of weight. So we want to make sure our tight head lock is lined up really square on the tight head prop. So when they're bound up, just bind up. So they've got that hip alignment there. As I'm coming towards the scrum, I'll give him a tap to let him know I'm coming in, and he'll just open his hips slightly there. I'll set and dig my studs into the ground, come in, get an arm bind through there and lock my head against his thigh, and then he'll just square his hips back up on me. And make sure the point of my shoulder is right up the middle of his bum, so I'm going to drive him straight. I'll hammer and nail, drive it, point of the shoulder right in the middle of his spine, so I'm going to, when I drive it, I'm going to drive him straight. The key for me here is I don't want to get twisted when that weight comes sideways, so I want my body to be locked down against my other lock, but I also don't want to slide up his back. So my focus is pushing my elbow through, but pushing my chest out at the same time, and my eye focus is the opposition's feet, because that's where I'm angling my pressure. So I'm in here like this, there, I'm in that position. Now the movement, obviously I don't want to move forward on him. The reason, so with Sammy and stuff, they were having trouble was when Sammy was coming to get up, he was just pushing forward to get in position and doing that every time, and pushing the blokes into the scrum. So what the guys have to be able to do it is basically be able to coordinate being in that position and just lifting their bum up straight like that. Now obviously they don't get the benefit of having the hand on the ground, but they use squeezing it against each other and the number 8 coming up. Starting with 1 foot forward, Giving it a little tap again, coming through, getting the shoulder in the right position, lifting the bum up, and then getting a little bit of a balance from the number 8, just to be able to move that foot back into the same position. So they end up in the same position as they were, just two different ways of studs on the ground. Just the other front row, just stand opposite, just leaving the two props, just give them something to bond on, they're not actually going to go in. Now when you come up off your knees, guys, I want you to just lift your bums up backwards. Okay, crouch, bind, we're not actually going to go in. Good. And see how they're actually able to lift up there without me even having to balance them off? This is good. And I'd just be there onto that, ready to drive them in. Drop your knees again, good. Okay, come out. And I want good contact, especially on my tight head lock. The reason I want good contact on my tight head lock is, again, that's where the majority of weight's coming through. So I want to knock him in nice and square and lock him down for the start of that scrum, so that we can build everything off the back of that. We'll just look at the other one now. So this time, binding up. Just give them again that same thing. So they're going to now give them a little tap. So they lift out, good. Feet square, yeah, just do 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Good. Okay, now they'll lift their bums up. Good, and just adjust that outside foot back in the square position. So we end up in the same position. I'm in there, squeezed onto the shoulders, come out, good. And we're looking to just punch those hips down and through. In between the right hand locks feet. Good, that's it. Okay, ready? Crouch. Bind. Set. Some of the great end up with that position there. So when they get up into that position, because they've come up off their knees there, what they've got to do is look forward and do exactly the same as that principle I told the props is, look, as soon as you're up and you're bound, you've got to squeeze that chest through and get that lock ready. And when you engage, you've got to drive that hips and chest in and lock everything through here and push your feet down into the ground. So we don't want shuffling and moving around. So this time when we get up, I want you both to look at the front row's opposite feet, okay, and have a nice big chest. And when you engage, I want to see really push that chest through and lock everything and try and push down in your feet. Let's have one more go at that. Focus on driving their hips in. Okay, get that alignment. Okay, loose head lock, the lock behind the loose head because you've got that bind underneath. I want you to try and bind up to each other. Good, bind up. I want you to try and, when you come up, try and find the point of your right shoulder, try and find the hooker's bum with it. Crouch. Lift your hip. Bind. Lift your hips up higher, higher, higher. Set. Squeeze through, just squeeze through, just squeeze into the feet. Squeeze into the feet, very good over here.